2024 in the UK, it will be illegal to have so much as a single chicken in your back garden, a roaming and a pecking, unless it's registered with the government. There's a £5,000 fine looming.
This is ridiculous. I thought Verbs would have been talking about this because his channel is all about having, animals and things. Our neighbours have had chickens, and sometimes they can get annoying with the noise. But to be honest, I wouldn't fine them or tell them not to have them anymore. Neil Oliver has just said that they've already got a vaccine as well prepared. I'll have to play that bit actually.
Twinkling together, even though they don't really work, and together. You have to accept that so much that sounds and looks like lies and bollocks is lies and bollocks. And but the good news is, everyone, that the clever people at Global Inventivax are way ahead and have the necessary jabs all but ready to roll out.
So this is another pandemic that's meant to be coming to do with birds, and they've already got these vaccinations already ready. What actually happened is, I used to see rabbits around all the time. I used to see rabbits around outside all the time, in the field. But now there aren't any. There aren't even any baby ones on the morning sometimes. They're gone. And they used to play. And I had rabbits, and actually one of the rabbits died mysteriously. And then another rabbit, I had two rabbits, and then the other rabbit, I came back from work one day, and she looked as if she'd had a little bit of an accident on her tail, but she was kind of all right. But then in the morning, then she'd passed away. And then I had a little boy grey rabbit, and then he was in the field. And on the news, they were talking about, a new rabbit disease, right? And it had 3 letters. I don't know if it was something like RMA or RMA or something like that. It was a new rabbit disease that was going around, and they were telling everyone to get the rabbits vaccinated, right? And I didn't get my rabbit vaccinated in time, but I believe that disease, right? That disease is not just like a random disease that suddenly appeared. They manufactured that to kill rabbits. It's like the idea and principle behind myxomatosis, right? That myxomatosis was, it had human intervention in it. What's actually happened, in my opinion, is that they got a disease like myxomatosis, and they literally put it out there, and then all the rabbits died, including people's. And now, if you want to have a rabbit, you'll have to go and pay vets and keep money going around for vets and revenue for vets and keep vets in the business, and they're really expensive. So you can't be an animal and can't be alive without having to pay money over to these literally medical places, because any rabbit in this country that was here would die unless you are paying to cover it with vaccination all the time, right? That's what's happened to literally, seriously. I don't see any rabbits around here anymore in the wild. I think they're all dead. I would be surprised to know what the entire population was of the country, and even if they showed the figures, whether they were lying about it or not. I think they did that on purpose. And the thing is, that's what they're going to have us like. I think they're going to make it so, like when you go to school and you've got to have this tetanus, you've got to have this or you've got to have that, right? I think they're going to make it so not only do we have to buy their food and eat their McDonald's, you can't just grow your own food for free and live for free and have electricity for free. How about a life where you're not dependent on these corporations? You're not dependent on their business. You just make your own things, right? They don't want it like that. And I don't even think that they want you to even be alive without their vaccinations. Effectively, right? You can't come into this country and be a rabbit now without getting that disease and it just dying, right? Unless you're literally protected. I mean, a competent animal or creature has a right to survive in its environment as is, right? I mean, even I was thinking about the dinosaurs, you know. I was thinking about the dinosaurs. A lot of them were really tall and really big, and a lot of them had long necks, and I know that they got the leaves from the trees, but if you go to Iceland and watch some of those volcano videos, there's a lot of toxic smokes and fumes coming out of those volcanoes, right? And if you're big and if you're high up, the thing with gas is that gas kind of goes on a certain level, right? It goes to a certain height. A lot of gases are kind of like fogs, and they've got a certain level. I think a lot of dinosaurs, particularly, there was a lot of problems with sulfur and toxic fumes and all manner of gases, like, you know, in Iceland, in the Jurassic and before, you know, around the time when the dinosaurs were out, there were lots of gases about and things like that, particularly in places like Iceland and so forth. So if they're big and huge, they've got a larger capacity to tolerate gases, and their heads are likely to be, if there are any gases, at least, you know, at a low level, or we're talking like, you know, maybe around kind of, you know, the height of a large sort of a van, I suppose. You know, a lot of those dinosaurs, their heads could go up to the top level of a bus kind of height, you know, which is if you're in, you know, swamps and around those sort of areas. I think that has got something to do with it. I'm not saying, you know, dinosaurs couldn't, they weren't adapted to actually handle and be able to live with those toxic gases, but I think that there's something about the size of them and their shape that has got some environmental factors related or connected to that. We can breathe. If you get a person, I mean, if you go to California where it's warmer, you know, you don't even really need to have a house. I mean, you could sleep, you know, outside. It's not that cold. I really think that they're wanting to get us to be like those little rabbits, and then you end up paying or needing the vaccine because you can't do without it, not just your food. And then you can't, you know, what happens if they end up, you know, changing all these, you know, Bill Gates changing the crops so that, you know, you might only be able to eat certain things if you've had certain vaccines, you know, and if you hadn't had certain vaccines, then there might be certain chemicals on things, or even genetically modified for only certain people to be able to tolerate. There are all manner of combinations possible, but can we trust these people? No. They're lying in the news. They're lying about the law. They've got a police force. They are lying about us political rights. They're even saying journalists now aren't journalists. You know, when people are trying to get into places to film things, you know, even though barristers are agreeing that they are journalists. I really don't like it now with this whole chicken things and new vaccines. If we've evolved for so long to be around animals, you know, even with things like anthrax that are lethal, you know, and even with the plague, we're still here, you know, and a lot of these, I think it's by design now. I think it's designed. I think they're actually designing it. And it's clear where they're going with it. I don't know what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to do about this if he gets in to be president, because no one's looking for these people. They're kind of like the equivalent of, you know, all these people now doing protests and actions, but they're so high up the level that, you know, no one's even looking for the things that they've made or the reasons. There's a new disease going around. Where did it come from? Who put it out? No one's investigating. They're investigating COVID. Why aren't they investigating that rabbit disease? Where did it come from? The labs for that. Someone leaked it and put it out, and all the rabbits died. Now you can't have a rabbit can't be in this country outside because it will die. And I think that's what they want us to be like, because it's just the way it's going. It'll be dogs soon. Soon it'll be dogs. I mean, they're already starting to make dogs have certain injections, so it's not a good model for the future. What we're doing is, the more and more in nature you are and in contact with these things, the more you have a natural immunity and you're designed to be in that environment through nature, right? Through evolution. How they're making it is they've turned takeaways, restaurants, the public arena, the town centres into a clinical environment. You can't even say and do certain things. People now aren't immune to language. People aren't immune to language. When you talk and say and do things, people can't tolerate it. This is like a clinic. It's turning the country into a clinic and into a laboratory. So when you've got a laboratory, then you can do these control blind experiments. When you get a lab, so you can control everything in the lab. And when you control everything in the lab, you control the people down to the precise, temperature, or almost like some kind. The planet is not a laboratory in the sense that, well, I suppose in a way, the planet kind of is a laboratory, but just by chance of being in a certain position in the universe, and it had freedom to grow. The type of environment they want on the planet to be is one where they are the ones. All of the factors are not environmental statistical factors. They're all fully controlled factors. I don't really know what more else you can say than that, but that's the way it's going now, I think.